What you're about to experience are my opinions and truths. I'm suggesting they're possibilities for you to consider, in which you can then come up with your own logical conclusions. Good day or evening to everyone out there in the decoding world. My name is Logan, and this is Decode Your Reality. And today, oh yeah, we're going to be doing part 2 of the decode of Lady Gaga. And I'm encouraging all of you to watch this all the way through, because the end is the very best part of this entire presentation. And to all of you, that are here from part 1, thank you so very much for your support. If you didn't watch part 1, obviously I'd encourage you to go watch that one first, because it will make much more sense. But here we go on Lady Gaga part 2. And the very reason why I had to do this one, well, I didn't have to, but the very reason why I chose to was because of how I got started with all this, and that was through the song Radio Gaga and Queen, and we're going to get into that. So let's go through the topics. Starting in the 0 position, as always, the introduction, which is what I'm doing right now. Number 1, Radio Gaga. That's exactly how I got to decode Lady Gaga. Number 2, the Queen Jack. Number 3, the Fame Works. Number 4, Gaga Radio. Number 5, Mercury's Fish. Number 6, Taylor's Lead. Number 7, Wizard of AM. Number 8, I Am Everything. And number 9, as always, what did you see during this presentation? I always love to hear your comments. Keep them coming. Even if you don't agree with anything that I'm showing, I still would love to hear your expressions. Just don't be a dink when you put your comments in the section. Use some common sense and logic when you write out your words, and support what you're saying. Don't just flat out refute what I'm saying. Come in with some substance to back up your opinion. Opinions are easy to present, folks. So, folks, this is the real reason why I started to decode Lady Gaga. And, again, just to recap, I was in the gym, and this song, Radio Gaga, by Queen, off the 1984 album, The Works, came on over the loudspeaker, and it was playing, and, I liked the song, so I started to kind of, sing it in my mind. And then when I got back to the casita, I had Lady Gaga pop into my head, and then I just started to sit down with the numbers, and I was fascinated by the decodes I got, and here we are. And folks, this, this part 2 is going to blow you away, because again, I will continue to show that this game of life that we're all playing is scripted and rigged. It was written before we all got here. So the very best thing each and every one of us should be doing is decoding ourselves, so we can know what our script is. And then, of course, it shows us our true powers, and and we have the best experience. But if you're not playing with all the tools in your toolbox, then you're not going to be able to really construct the house in the best mannerisms, and that's what it's all about. So here it is, folks. This was the album Radio Gaga came off of, the 1984 album, The Works. And of course, here we are bringing the cards of illumination, because the cards of illumination, the typical poker deck having 52 cards matching the 52 weeks, 4 suits, 4 seasons, they're embedded into the solar lunar calendar. They're embedded into an entire year, and that's why they're so accurate. You should know this by now. You should know what your birth cards are, your spirit cards, the people around you. But nonetheless, the release date of this album was February 27th, and that is the Jack Clubs card, which is the 24th card in the deck. Now, let me just digress and show you that here's February. This is the boilerplate chart, by the way, of the cards of illumination, and the 12 months run horizontally, and then the 31 days run vertically. And so here we have February 27 is when this album came out, where the song Radio Gaga came out, and it's the Jack Clubs card. And the Jack Clubs card is right here in the cards of illumination, and this is the absolute way these cards are expressing themselves. You have the fire suit, which is hearts, the first suit. Then you have air, which is the club suit, the second suit. Then you have diamonds, the third, which is the water suit, runs our emotions. And then you have spades running the earth in the fourth position. And these are, of course, run 1 through 13, and then they start back over. The kings are at the bottom. And there is the 24th card running in its natural sequence, the Jack Clubs card. So there it is, folks. The February 27th release date of this album and song, Radio Gaga, was the Jack Clubs card. And since it's the 24th card in the deck, it's going to match up to another layer that we can decode from, and this is the elements of the periodic table. I don't have to go into this. You probably already know this part of decoding, and you should be using it in your decoding methods. I see a lot of you using it, which I think is fantastic. The 24th element is chromium, which is tied to the X chromosomes because the letter X is the 24th letter. And of course, chromium is tied to chroma. That's where the word comes from, and it means color. So this element right here is talking about the rainbow, talking about the 7 colors of the rainbow, talking about our X chromosomes. So then you bring in Lady Gaga's album. Radio Gaga, Lady Gaga, there's got to be some kind of synchronicity here. There's got to be some kind of connection. Abso-freaking-lutely there is. So her album, The Fame, her debut album, came out on August 19th, 2008. And that date, August 19th, I showed this in the first Lady Gaga Decode, is the 7 Clubs card, which is the 20th card in the deck. So, let's go back over and show you the 7 clubs is right here. It's the 20th card in the deck. So it's not too far away from that Jack. Notice they're both club cards. They're both club cards. Could have been any other cards. I mean, listen, folks, when you look at this, look how many cards, look at the sequences of all these cards. Out of all the cards, could have been any of the other cards, but yet it was not only was it a 7, but it was a clubs card, the same suit as this Radio Gaga song that came off of Queen the Works album, releasing on February 27th, which is this Jack Clubs card. So 7 clubs is the card tied to when her album, The Fame, came out. And it's the 20th card in the deck, and that's tied to the 20th element called calcium, which is a huge piece of our bones. If you get into theology, if you haven't seen my decode on King Nebuchadnezzar and decoding that, when Daniel decoded that, folks, the whole statue in this dream of King Nebuchadnezzar, it all leads from the gold down to calcium, which is the toes and the feet talked about in the book of Daniel. Calcium is our toes, the 10 kingdoms, and the stone that breaks up that calcium. Anyway, that's the 20th card tied to the 20th element, calcium. So you have calcium and you have chromium. They both start with the letter C. Kind of interesting there. So then let's bring them together, and what do we get? Because now we're doing alchemy of the cards, we're doing alchemy of the elements, we're doing alchemy of these albums and these artists. And notice that, when you bring these two together, 20 and 24, the 2 cards, you're going to get 44. And if you've been following this great research, you know that 44 is tied directly to the words gold current. And as I've been showing, the gold current, the gold currency, we're being used for our energetic gold. If you want to talk about the physical, like, the Anunnaki and all that, well, they made humans to mine the physical gold. Well, okay, that's fine. What about the mental gold? See, because it's not just about the physical in our world. It's about the energy as well. The energy actually precedes the physical. Kind of like the thoughts in your head precede the spoken word. Like you think of things before you speak them, so the thought comes first. Well, the gold currency comes before the actual physical gold, folks, because that's tied into physics and electromagnetism and electricity and magnetism and all that kind of stuff, which we're going to be getting into. So there we have it, the two tie-ins, Radio Gaga, Lady Gaga, the albums, the connections. It's the gold current tying the two together. So when you go a step further, let's do the alchemy of these two albums. Chromium is the Queen the Works album. Calcium is the Fame by Lady Gaga. And when you do the alchemy of chromium and calcium, you add them up in the trusty calculator, look at the number you get. On the masculine side, it's 91.904, but 91 on the masculine side of the decimal. And as I've been showing, and you probably know this, the word battery equals the number 91. It equals the number 19 in the Chaldean, which is just the mirror of the 91. And when we go back to this here, what is currency? It's a battery, folks. It's a battery. It's energetic gold, folks, and that's what we're being mined for, our energy. These people collect a massive amount of energy over their careers. And when it's time to pay up and that blood gets spilled, something takes that energy, folks. Let's check into let's check into the actual release dates of these albums and the timestamp. Radio Gaga coming out in 1984. Lady Gaga, her first album coming out in 2008. The timestamp between these two is 8,941 days. And I just did it this way. You could probably do it other ways and have more synchronicities. But notice what it is, folks. It's a prime number. Now, I'm not going to go into great detail of what the 1112 prime number is, folks, but, we all know the 211 is the 47th prime number. There's just an extra one in there. But as we know with numbers, how they express themselves, forwards, backwards, they're expressing themselves. And this is a big freaking deal right here. This is a big deal, it being a prime number. So that currency, that electromagnetism, those waves are really tightly woven with what I believe to be the baton being passed on. When you look at the birthdays of these two people, this was just like jaw-dropping to me. It's not jaw-dropping anymore. I have so much fun with this now because it's just getting easier and easier to find the code and just expose it and show to everybody. And many of you are showing the great code as well. But look at Freddie Mercury. He was born on September 5th, 1946. The subtleties, 46 is the tree of life. And she was born on March 28th. Now, she wasn't born in 1946. I just left the year out because I'm just doing the timestamp of March 28th to September 5th, the days in between, not the year. So forget those. I should have scrubbed those out. But I was really focusing on the actual month and day, March 28th to September 5th. It's a span of 161 days. And folks, that's the golden ratio. Here it is right here. 1.61, where it's embedded in everything in nature, from seashells to flowers to the Mona Lisa painting. This golden ratio is this is your ear. It's everything. It's everywhere. And these two on the calendar, March 28th, September 5th is 161 freaking days. And you want to tell me that man's doing this? Do you know how silly that sounds? When you would actually claim that? Especially I see people decoding sports and, it's the Masons and they're not doing anything, folks. If you're a decoder, I hope you've gotten that through your brain right now, that man's not doing anything. They may be doing things, but they're being used to do it. They're being used to fulfill the code. Man could never script a baseball game, basketball game the way it goes down. I mean, I can see some things, but not at the level of the things that people are finding. Too many moving parts, folks. You got to use your common sense and logic. Here are the birth names of both people. You have Freddie Mercury, Farouk Balsara, and then you have Lady Gaga, Stefani Joanne Angelina Germanata. And together they equal the number 156, and that is the prime number for this number right there. Pretty jaw-dropping, right? Jaw-dropping. And then, what about the elements of the periodic table? Like when you bring those into the play of this, 156 being the prime number of the 911. Well, it's tied to the fish, folks. You see, because this is the GD element. In case you didn't know that, this is the GD element. You could just put the O in between the G and D, and then you got a word that many of you know. Most of you know. Everybody should know what that word is. Most of you use it. But it's tied to our codons. We have 64 possible codons in our DNA. There are 64 squares on a chessboard, 64 numbers of the I Ching. That's the third eye in the heart chakra. Third eye is the number 6. Heart chakra is number 4. Falling in love with what you see through your pineal gland, folks, which is all about the 9 and 14. That's why Jesus was a fisher of men, because it's tied to this element right here. I've been showing this over and over. Go watch the Truman Show Decoded. I mean, this is not a one-hit wonder stuff I'm showing here, folks. And I'm not simply bragging. I'm not trying to beat a dead horse, and I don't want a medal for any of this stuff, folks. You may not like the way I present my information. You may not like me personally. That's totally cool. Not everybody's going to like what I'm showing. Not everybody's going to like me. Not everybody's going to like my voice, the way I, speak. The raspiness in my voice, how I get loud, how I get passionate. But folks, I'm just showing you truths. They're my opinions and truths, but you just got to connect the dots, and you're either going to accept them or you're going to reject them. It's completely up to you. There's no strong-arming anybody here, folks. But clearly, these two people are being used to fulfill their code. Do you think that excludes you? Why would they be coded as in a script and you're not? Does that make any sense? That's why it's important to decode who you are, folks. Here's the guy who actually wrote the song Radio Gaga. The drummer for the band Queen, Roger Meadows Taylor. And so, I'm like, okay, well, and I could have went further with their birthdays, but folks, it just goes so deep. Look at what their numerology is together. 181, and here we are yet again showing another freaking prime number. And that 42, if you haven't watched The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, or have you read the book or seen, it was the big question was, they asked this supercomputer, hey, what's the secret of the universe? And it took them 7.5 million. They say the supercomputer says, come back in 7.5 million years. Why 7.5? Because 75 is tied to the constellations above our head, the 88 constellations. 7 and 5 is the number 12, which is the 12 zodiac signs. 7 and 5 is the Masonic Arch. 7 and 5 is the constellations. That's why it said come back in 7.5 years. But nonetheless, what was the answer to the secrets to the universe? 42, which is tied to the Truman Show and the fish and the upside down cross and St. Peter. And it's also tied to lead. See, folks, 42, when you go and bring the elements of the periodic table into this, is called molybdenum, the 42nd element. This element, I'm just going to show you right here. This is important. Go to the Royal Society of Chemistry, and you go to element number 42, and look at what it means. It means lead. That's what this element means, lead. And what's alchemy, folks? Turning lead into gold. Turning lead into gold. And then again, my opinion is you just get recycled right back in again. So, I decided to break down, what about the radio? Radio Gaga, Lady Gaga. I mean, it's about the Gaga, which is gold current. Gaga is 44, that's gold current. But the radio is a big deal because, folks, before television, before music videos and MTV, before any of that, MP3, before record, it was the radio. People used to watch TV on the radio. They used to sit in front of the radio as a family and listen to the shows and use their imagination. So, radio is a huge integral part of this decode because Radio Gaga is the very reason why I decoded Lady Gaga. And as you can see, since I've gone through this presentation, they're both connected. The band Queen, Freddie Mercury, Roger Taylor, Lady Gaga, Radio Gaga, they're all connected. Everything is part of the script. So obviously, a most important thing to do is decode radio, because where did the radio come from? The radio still is in existence. There's still stations that play music, and they're playing Lady Gaga on the radio. Some of you still listen to the radio in your car. So radio, look at radio. Radio is broken down. It means sun god, because Ra is the Egyptian sun god. Radio. And Dio is the Italian word for God. Now, if you don't like the Chaldean, you want to look at the English, that's totally fine. Here you go, because you see, radio, Ra in the English is the number 19. And then when you go to the tarot, where's the 19th card? It's right here. And what is the 19th card? Oh, it's just the sun. How about that? So you see, folks, these cards are not demonic. They have every bit of integrity to them as anything of a theology book such as the Bible or Upanishads or Quran or any of these ancient manuscripts that people claim to be the divine truth. These have every right to be in the same position because they fall in line with everything from theology. And that's what we're talking about. We're talking about the sun god. That's what this radio means. Sun god. I mean, the 47's tetragrammaton. And I showed, if you've been following my work on Facebook, I showed the 15 leading to the number 47 because the 47's tied to the 15. I mean, right here. Here it is, folks. Let me go to numberempire.com. And when we type in the number 15, look what prime number it is, folks. It's the 47, The 47 is the 15th prime number. So no matter which way you slice it, you're going to get to the 47. 15, 47, they're both tied together. Both of these ciphers are tied together. And the 47 is the tetragrammaton. The words Washington, D.C. equals 47. The word White House equals 47. The university in Washington, D.C. called Georgetown, that equals the number 47. If you want to get into the Anunnaki, Zachariah Sitchin, who wrote the books, his name equals 47. His great friend Jordan Maxwell, his name equals 47. I could go on, folks. Man is being used. Being used, folks. And this is just another layer to observe the matrix from, our world that's being expressed. The sun god. I mean, this is tied to Lucifer. Lucifer's 28. Dio, God, is 28. Lord Lucifer. People call him the devil. That's totally fine. But guess what it's part of? It's part of everything in this world, everything being expressed. And the radio waves are electromagnetic waves, and we're going to get into that, because it has everything to do with this presentation. This guy right here is the one who invented the radio. Marconi. And his demonstration and invention of that for the British government was in the year 1901. And, you know, when you bring in the elements of the periodic table to get that bridge, it's osmium, otherwise known as the Wizard of Oz element, because that's how you say osmium. You say osmium, you don't say osmium, it's osmium, the Wizard of Oz. I've shown this so many times. This is tied to Nephilim, the supposed fallen angels in that story. They're tied to the number 76. And again, you know, as fate would have it, this is part of the script. The Wizard of Oz runs the radio waves. That's what this is interpreting here. And it's owning this guy, Marconi, who invented it. So I decided to dig further, folks. And, you know, I found this anomaly, obviously. This is his full birth name. It's the yin yang. You know, the subtleties, because you can't leave it out. This is tied to Yaldabaoth, the Gnostic demiurge. All the same construct, folks. All the same construct. But then I started to dig even further, folks. And these three guys right here were the very reason why we have the radio and music as we have it. Because this is the guy who invented the radio, Marconi, who I showed you. And so if you trace it back, you're going to go to get to this guy, Mr. Hertz, who proved the existence of the electromagnetic waves, which gave the inspiration for Mr. Marconi to invent the radio. And then Hertz got his inspirations from one of the greatest physicists ever, James Maxwell, who formulated the theory of electromagnetic radiation. This guy was, I mean, you probably never heard of him if you haven't studied any of the history, but this dude, I mean, this guy was like one of the smartest guys on the planet. I mean, when I go to this right here, where is he? Right here, James Clerk Maxwell. And, you know, I mean, Einstein had this guy up here with, you know, Isaac Newton and all the greats. I mean, he had, you know, his equations for electromagnetism have been called the second great unification in physics. We're talking about electromagnetism. We're talking about what runs our reality, folks. What's the makeup of it? Forget all the stories and the people in those stories and all the man-made constructs. How about how it works and the machinations and the operations and the moving parts? This is what all of these guys studied. And this guy who invented the radio, it was a result of this guy. These three guys, when you go do your research, all three are tied together. All of them followed suit. And so, of course, I'm going to look up their cards. Abso-friggin-lutely, I'm going to. And this is what I found. Marconi, 25th of April, 9 of clubs. Hertz, 22nd February, 9 clubs. James Maxwell, the start of it all, 13 June, 4 diamonds. Which is one of the Jack-in-the-Box cards. So you have 499. It moves from left to right. The start, the end. So then I decided to bring them all together. What is 499? Using numberempire.com. It's just the 95th prime number. And what is 95, folks? It's one half of the I am. It's the element Americium. And folks, what is the abbreviation of Americium? It's the letters AM. And what did Marconi invent based upon Maxwell's discoveries? AM radio. I mean, folks, your jaw should be on the floor. Because again, I'm not trying to fit a square peg in a round hole. I'm not stretching anything. This is the way the Matrix is expressing itself. This is how it works. This is what it looks like. So then, when was the first AM radio introduced to the world? The year 1920. 1920. It's tied to the element, once again, osmium. Osmium has multiple atomic weights or isotopes. One of them is 192. And that's once again, the Wizard of Oz. Who's running the AM radio waves? The Wizard of Oz. Who's the Wizard of Oz? I've been showing this over and over and over. Obviously, it's multi-complex. But it's clear it comes down to the three things in physics: dielectricity, magnetism, and electricity. That's what it comes down to. That's really what runs our world. Everything else is all subordinate underneath that. So again, how are these showing up this way? Because life is fixed. So, I decided to spell out radio with the elements of the periodic table. And, there isn't a DI. Radio is RADIO. There's not a DI. So, the closest was DY. And, look, when you say I and Y, I, Y, it's so similar in the way it comes off the tongue. I, Y, it's very similar. And, of course, the Y can be interchanged as a consonant or a vowel. So I decoded it, folks, and this is what I found, and I thought it had a shit ton of merit to it. Radium, dysprosium, and oxygen. We breathe oxygen. 21% of the Earth's atmosphere is oxygen, and we know Ra is 21. So you literally have a double 21 right there. But when you do the alchemy of radium, dysprosium, and oxygen, you're going to get the number 401.945. 401 on the masculine side. And of course, hey, this is the nugget, folks. It's the 79th prime number. And what's 79? Gold. Radio is the electromagnetic waves, which are gold current. I want to be on the radio. Put that song on the radio. Broadcast that over the radio. It's currency, folks. It's gold currency. It's just gold currency. So I'm almost done with this presentation, folks, and I'm going to be coming out with a decode on the 369. Nikola Tesla and his 369, the key to the universe. I already showed this before, but I want to end this presentation to go out with a bang. And we already know what the prime number is of Americium. It's 499. Which is right here with the... See, Americium, 95, 1/2 of the IM is the prime number for the number 499. And now, if you know what numbers, folks, this is a big deal. This is giving all its energy to the number 4. 499. It's literally the ending of 400. Which is the higher echelon of the number 4, which is the higher echelon of our heart chakra, the green. And then it goes to the 500, and it moves over to the merger of worlds, which is tin. So 95, prime number 499. And we have 241 for the 53rd prime. 53rd prime number is 241. So here is the I am, folks, which makes up the radio waves, which makes up Lady Gaga, which makes up Queen, Freddie Mercury, and Roger Taylor, and all of you and me. Everything. That's why, that's why I am is one of the most two powerful words you can put together. I am this, I am that. That's how you create. I am this, I am that. That's why you got to be careful what you say. So 241, 53rd prime number, 95, 49, 499. When you take those two and put them together, folks, look what you get. 241 added to 499. You're going to get the number 740. 740. Which is a higher echelon of the 74. And we know how powerful the 74 is, folks. Let me recap. Here's the crucifixion. Here's the 33 steps. Here's how many vertebrae you have in your spinal cord. 33. It's everywhere, embedded everywhere. And so many things that you're decoding. Sports, movies, music. And you think man's doing this? Are you out of your freaking mind? Man could never do all this coding. Not smart enough. Too many moving parts. So the two elements that are tied to that 74 is arsenic, which again, Lucifer's in here because Lucifer equals 74, tied right to the Christ. Make no mistake about it. See, Lucifer, his real name is Hyll in the original Hebrew. That equals the number 39. And the Christ through alchemology is 39. So you better start getting used to really having an understanding that the Christ and Lucifer are the two same, they're two of the same thing. Tungsten is 74. This means illumination. Tied to the number 56. This is wolfram. This is the 20. This is the crown element right here. The triple crown element. They used to put this in filament for light bulbs. And what does light bulbs do? They illuminate, folks. Illumination. And we got all this from the I am, folks. Which is physics. It's electromagnetism and magnetism and dielectricity. That's what it is. It's physics. It's not all the other bullshit artificial stuff that we make up, even though it's all a part of that. The origins are numbers that can be measured. So when we do the alchemy of just the protons of the I am, the 53 and 95, when we add those two up, folks, right here in the trusty calculator, you're going to get the number 148. So where's that 148 going to go? Well, it's just the starting point in the digits of pi, which I've been showing how important this is. This is everything. 148, it starts at the 103rd digit, decimal digit in pi, and 103 is the 27th prime number. So we have the I am using the protons of these two elements, combining them together, giving us an output of 148. That's found at the 103rd decimal digit in the string of pi, which always tells the truth if you know how to interpret it. And using numberempire.com, it's the 27th prime number. Why is that important? Because you see, folks, on my last slide, you'll notice that the words we speak through all the spells that we say are embedded into all 26 letters of the English alphabet. And when you run them through Chaldean, which is why I prefer Chaldean over all others, because I feel it's most closely linked to the origin of our world, the total 26 letters of our alphabet break down and give you the number 103. 27th prime number. And the 27 is tied to the word current. And that's why I like, see Chaldean? 27, current. Gold currency. The I am, folks. I am that I am. The Word was God. John 1:1. The Word was God, and God was the Word. It's the I am. It's the electromagnetism. It's the gold currency. And when you bring in the element of the periodic table to match up into that, the 27th element called cobalt, there you have CO for its abbreviation. That is chaos and order. The same as fear and love, chaos and order. That's why Isaiah 45:7, the Lord says, I create good and evil. It's not man doing anything. It's literally like whoever created this matrix reality has its hands in every freaking cookie jar in our kitchens. And it's the gold currency. I mean, there it is. This is the ancient Israelite God of the Bible, the Taurian Bible. It's all about Taurus because Taurus is about love. 17 is the fish, and we're the goldfish, folks, being mined for our gold currency through the words that we speak that are played on the radio. Radio Gaga. And this is another look of it here, folks. This is going to be part of my decode coming out on the 369. I mean, what got hurled down in that story of theology? The great dragon got hurled down. That's just the voice of the divine cosmos. The song of the divine cosmos. And it's the word, and the words get spoken into spells, which get sung into songs, which get played on the radio, and they go gaga, goo goo gaga. That's why babies do gaga, gaga, goo goo gaga. It's kind of funny, actually, when you look at that, folks. A baby saying those words and grown adults singing those same words. And then those words actually mean gold currency. When the baby doesn't even know what it's even saying, but that's tied to a baby through the typical programming of what we see. Gaga, goo goo gaga. It's baby talk, human talk, adult talk, the divine talk. It's the word. It's the spells. And we all speak spells. We're all magicians. And some of you, they're witches and warlocks. Well, what do you think you are? You're just titling those people. But you're the same thing. You just may not do what they do, but energy is energy. It's just currency, folks. I mean, Star Wars had it right. It's the Force. And you either work for Team Darth Vader, which is red, which is the root chakra, or you work for Team Yoda, which is the color green. That's it. And then, Luke Skywalker had the blue lightsaber. Han Solo had the blue lightsaber, indicating the throat. And that's heaven and hell, folks. And it goes on and on. It's heaven and hell. So what did you see during this presentation, folks? What did you see during this presentation? Folks, these people, I mean, did they earn to be up on stage doing the things they're doing? Did they earn that through karma? I got a friend who reads Akashic Records, and her take is on it. Well, hey, you wrote the script to your movie that you're playing out. You're in your own movie and you wrote it before you came here. It's a theory. Can't prove it, but it's a pretty cool theory. You wrote it. You picked everything that's happening. See, the problem is that you lost your way because when you came down here, you got what's called amnesia. And you forgot why you came here. And so obviously the very best thing you can do as a person is to discover your blueprint. To discover what the church told you was demonic. Because they knew that when you studied yourself, you'd become free. You'd become powerful and realize that there's nobody that has any control over you. And many of the things that you believe right now are all bullshit. And they have no place in what is called the cosmos because they're artificial. Everything here on earth that man's created is artificial. It's not natural. I mean, they may take something like a pair of socks and make it out of cotton, but those socks are not made from nature. They're made from man, so they're artificial. So obviously, folks, man's being, this is just my opinion again. We're being used. And maybe we did write our script out before we got here. That's possible. But I can tell you for sure, whether we're being used or we wrote the script before we got here or we're playing out our karmic value, the very best thing you can do is to discover your true power through your blueprint. So many layers. I had how to decode yourself. I gave a free video. It's an hour long. One of the best things you can watch. Amongst any other, go hire an astrologer, a numerologist, a human designist. Go study your personality type. All these things, folks. Because some of you should be on stage singing and you're not because you don't feel comfortable enough, because somebody told you couldn't do it, but it's in your script. And all you need is some confirmation to go do it. To give you the courage to say, you know what, I'm going to go do it because it's in my script. It's in my instruction manual and I'm going to go do it, damn it. And I don't care what you say. And then your life takes off like a rocket and you're looking back and there's really nothing to look back to because you're looking forward. So anyway, folks, thanks for listening to me ramble. A little bit passionate about this kind of stuff, as you know. But that's all I got for today. My name is Logan. This is Decode Your Reality, and I thank you so very much for watching.